Okay, let's just jump right into this explainer, because what we're about to uncover, it's going to completely shatter everything you thought you knew about global charity. I mean, we all share this deep-rooted belief, right? Rich countries send money to poor countries and it builds them up. Sounds great. But the data tells a totally different, almost unbelievable story. Today, we're exposing the massive, hidden cost of foreign aid.
We all assume that funneling billions in foreign aid equals economic growth. I mean, it sounds like basic common sense. Build schools, pave roads, feed the hungry. But what if that money is actually a wrecking ball? Seriously, what if handing over massive checks accidentally sabotages the exact industries these nations desperately need to escape poverty? Brace yourselves, because the truth here is going to make you pretty uncomfortable.
The data we're looking at is basically going to slap you right in the face. It turns out more aid correlates directly with less manufacturing. It literally destroys the industries these countries need the most. Factories shut down, thousands of local jobs just vanish. So instead of building economic independence, foreign aid is acting like acid on the manufacturing sector. Crazy, right?
Just look at this breakdown. It's incredibly stark. Countries receiving low amounts of aid, their manufacturing is actually thriving. But the countries just drowning in high aid, their manufacturing shrinks dramatically. A massive influx of foreign money is heavily linked to a total collapse in a nation's ability to just make things. It completely defies common sense.
And the global reality is frankly devastating. On this plot, every single dot is a country. And look at that downward trend. The more aid money a country takes in, the harder its manufacturing share nosedives. The pattern is just undeniable here. The more help they get from the outside, the less they actually produce on the inside.
Now, this isn't just about the entire economy shrinking. It's about a fatal imbalance. The aid money floods in, right? And it pumps up local services. Think local construction or retail. But it leaves the factories out in the cold. So you get this service sector that gets totally bloated on foreign cash, while the crucial export engines just rust away.
So obviously we have to ask, how exactly does a giant pile of free money cause an export economy to just crash and burn? It feels like dark magic, but actually it's just cold, hard economics. How does a simple wire transfer from the West trigger padlocks on factory doors in the developing world? Well, let's look at the invisible mechanics behind this.
The researchers actually mapped out this dangerous mechanical chain reaction, and it kicks off the exact moment that foreign aid hits the bank. First, the money enters the country. This triggers a massive sudden spike in local currency value and local costs, and that directly causes the final, fatal step, a sharp decline in manufacturing. It's a totally predictable mathematical trap.
Here's exactly how the trap snaps shut, step by step. Step 1, aid dollars flood in, skyrocketing the demand for local goods. Step 2, prices and wages spike. Skilled workers end up getting poached by that bloated service sector we talked about. Step 3, local factories are now stuck facing higher wages, but they sell on the global market where prices are fixed. They become way too expensive to compete. So step 4, unable to turn a profit, the factories die.
So this foreign cash injection acts like an absolute poison pill for the economy. The aid makes the local currency artificially strong and local labor artificially expensive. The country essentially prices itself right out of the global market. Suddenly, they can no longer make cheap shoes or textiles to sell abroad. The free money literally made it too expensive to operate at home.
But wait a second. Could this just be a wild coincidence? A random fluke in the data? Could we just be misreading a few bad decades in developing nations? We have to be absolutely sure about this. Can we prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that aid is the actual murder weapon here, and not just an innocent bystander? Let's check the receipts.
To prove this wasn't just some coincidence, the researchers cleverly stress-tested their theory. They split the economy into two distinct groups. Group A, industries relying on global exports like clothing, and Group B, industries serving strictly the local market. Think about it. If foreign aid inflates local costs, the exporters should suffer massively while the local industry stayed totally safe. Let's see what happened.
Well, as you can see, the pain is definitely not shared equally. This data is absolutely damning. Look at that steep downward trend. The industries most reliant on exporting are the exact ones that suffer the most devastating drops in growth when aid floods in. The more money a country gets, the harder its exporters get crushed. The proof is right there in the numbers.
Let's actually put a specific number on this destruction. For every single percentage point increase in a country's aid to GDP ratio, crucial sectors like clothing and footwear see their growth slashed by a massive 1%. Every single year. 1% lower growth, compounded year after year, that is a literal death sentence for an emerging economy.
Now, of course, we have to tackle the giant elephant in the room. It's the classic chicken or egg problem. Defenders of foreign aid will say, hold on, did the aid cause the bad economy, or did the world just send money because the economy was already failing? And hey, it's a completely fair question. Maybe aid is just an ambulance arriving at the scene of a crash, right?
To figure this out, the researchers completely bulletproofed their logic. They used a brilliant method to separate the symptoms from the disease. Instead of looking at why countries needed aid, they tracked the historical reasons donors gave money, things like old colonial ties or political alliances. By isolating money that flowed in purely for politics, completely ignoring the recipient's actual economy, they proved it mathematically. The aid itself was the trigger causing the damage.
Guys, this is a massive revelation. It completely shatters the ambulance defense. The aid money was the weapon, not the bandage. The very mechanism designed by the wealthiest nations to save these developing countries is inadvertently suffocating their best path to self-reliance. We are literally throwing them an anvil disguised as a life preserver. The researchers who ran these numbers sum up this brutal reality perfectly. They stated that aid inflows have systematic adverse effects on a country's competitiveness. Basically, every time we pump unearned dollars into fragile systems, we accidentally destroy their edge on the world stage. We rob them of the chance to build the very factories that historically pulled Europe and America out of poverty. So where does this leave us? Well, if we ever want to see sustainable, long-term growth in developing nations, we have to completely rethink how we inject capital. We can't just blindly dump money and pat ourselves on the back. We have to ensure our charity doesn't accidentally kill their factories, because a country's ultimate salvation is its ability to make and sell things to the rest of the world.
I'm going to leave you with this really provocative thought. If our good intentions and massive donations are keeping poor countries from building their own industrial wealth, is it time we stopped giving them the very thing that's holding them back? Are we doing this to actually help them, or are we just doing it to feel good about ourselves while they pay the ultimate price in lost futures? Definitely something to think about.